Right. In this video, I'm going to be answering the question, how does a positively charged person ground himself or herself? In other words, how does a positively charged person become neutral again? And so my materials in this case are going to be the person, the sink. They are both conductors in this case. I've shown that by showing that the atoms that make up this material have these empty valence shells, allowing electrons to move easily through them. And because of that, the charge on this object is going to be distributed evenly. In this case, I have a positively charged person, and it's charged throughout because electrons can move evenly throughout here. All right, my conductor, we're also going to have an evenly distributed charge, but it's neutral, so it doesn't really matter as much here. So my sink in this case is my conductor. It's going to be neutral. And then I also have a new object here. It's the ground, or any other relatively massive object. Right? And your ground is always, 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 no matter what ends up happening in your scenario, it's always going to be neutral. All right. So let's see what ends up happening to make this person grounded, neutral. The person just needs to make charge by contact in this case. The person could just touch the ground, but we're going to be using this example of touching another object where electrons could be traveling through my object, in this case the sink. So the person will touch the sink in this case, and just like charging by contact, now electrons can move. Now, instead of just moving from the conductor from my sink to the person, because my system is attached to the ground, and I have like this infinite supply of electrons, those electrons are actually going to travel from the ground through the sink, and they could travel through because it's a conductor, has these empty valence shells, allows the electrons to move easily, and the electrons are going to want to move where there's a bunch of electrons to where there's just not as much. In this case, I have this positively charged person, so electrons are going to fly in from the ground through the sink to the person until that person becomes neutral. All right, so afterwards, I have a neutral person, a neutral sink, and a neutral ground. Everything's neutral at the end. This is going to be an example of charging by grounding. Let's see. These are conductors, so the charge is going to be distributed evenly. However, they're both neutral, so it's not going to be as applicable in this case. The ground, even though electrons left the ground, since it's an infinite supply, we could say that the electrons that did leave were just such a small percentage of what's actually in my ground, a relatively massive object, that it's just going to stay neutral. That did not make a big difference at all.